All right, today we're talking about parallel lines. And transversals. Parallel lines and transversals. Parallel lines do not intersect. Parallel lines do not intersect and are coplanar. Coplanar. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the year. Coplanar means that they're in the same plane. In the same plane. So if you draw a line, call it L. Another line, I'm going to call it M. And the symbol for parallel, there's a couple different ways to refer to parallel lines. You can say that L is parallel to M. Just two vertical lines right next to each other. That's one way. Another way is if there's a arrow or a red arrow on line L and there's a same or matching red arrow on line M, it means that the lines are parallel. Either way. Line L could also be called line AB. Line M could also be called line CD, and you could say that line AB is parallel to line CD. Skew lines. Skew lines do not intersect. And are not coplanar. Skew lines don't intersect either. All right, parallel lines, they don't intersect, but they're in the same plane. Skew lines don't intersect, but they're in different planes. All right, an example would be in the upper corner of the front wall, where the front wall meets the ceiling, that creates a line. And where the front wall intersects the floor, that creates another line. And both of those lines are in the same plane. They're parallel to each other. They don't intersect, right? Now, where the front wall meets the ceiling, there's a line. Where the back wall and this side wall meet, there's a vertical line, isn't there? Well, that vertical line, that doesn't intersect with that line at the front of the classroom, does it? One of them's vertical back here, another one's horizontal in the front of the classroom. They don't intersect, but you don't refer to them as parallel because they're in two different planes, okay? So when they don't intersect and they're in different planes, they're called skew. When they don't intersect and they're in the same plane, they're called parallel, okay? And we're going to say here as well that parallel planes do not intersect. Can I get a volunteer to describe to me a couple of parallel planes in this classroom? Please. Very good. The ceiling and the floor. Ceiling and the floor. Those are parallel planes. The ceiling is a plane and the floor is a plane, and they don't intersect with each other. The east wall of the classroom and the west wall of the classroom, those are parallel planes. They don't intersect with each other. So you can draw this, you might as well just draw this piece of cheese because I love cheese. So we're going to go piece of cheese right here. We're going to label it JKL. And PQR. And then we're going to list segments parallel to JP. Segments parallel to JP. So if we highlight JP, parallel to JP, I'm going to go with KQ. It's sitting back here in the back. And LR. KQ is parallel. LR is parallel. We're going to list a segment skew. Skew to KL. Skew to KL. Well, KL is right here. Skew to KL. Doesn't intersect with it, and it's in a different plane. All right, QR would be parallel to KL. But skew to KL, that would be JP. And then we need a plane parallel to PQR. A plane parallel to PQR. Well, PQR is the bottom of this piece of cheese. So what's parallel to the bottom of the piece of cheese? The top, and that would be plane JKL. So plane J, K, and L. All right, so some examples of parallel lines, parallel segments, parallel planes, and skew segments. Oh, chat. What? Okay, Curtis, thanks, buddy. Everybody good with those definitions and examples? All right. We are moving right along. And we're going to say that a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at two different points is called a transversal. A line that intersects two or more lines. One line that intersects two or more is a transversal. One that intersects two others. So here's one that intersects two others. Here's your transversal. One that intersects two others, there, T is your transversal. Call this one T as well. Everybody see what a transversal does? Intersects two or more lines. When one transversal intersects two lines, how many angles are created? There's 8 angles created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. Those angles all have names. And we're going to talk about those names right now. So we're going to get a little bit bigger diagram on your paper over here on the right. And let's go with we've got a line here. We've got line L. We got line M. We're going to call this transversal T. Now we're going to number these angles. Put your cursor, your pencil right here. We're going to go angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we got angle 5, 6, 7, and 8. We talked earlier in the year that, and we said that this was the interior area, and this was the exterior. And now what we're going to do is we're going to list the names and description of a bunch of angles. So we're going to start with interior angles. The interior angles in this diagram, those are angles 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully you can see why, because they're located in the interior of this diagram. They are between the two lines. We've got exterior angles. Those are located in the exterior of lines L and M, because lines L and M are the ones that are cut by the transversal. So the exterior angles in this picture are 1, 2, 7, and 8. Then we've got angles that are called consecutive interior. Consecutive interior. The consecutive means same side. Same side of the transversal. All right, so we got consecutive interior angles. They're on the same side of the transversal. So there's two pairs. There's 3 and 6 are one pair. The other pair of consecutive interior angles are 4 and 5. The next type of angles we have here, they are called alternate interior. Alternate interior angles, those are on opposite sides. Opposite sides of the transversal. All right? Alternate interior angles, they're on opposite sides of this transversal T. So one pair is 3 and 5. The other pair of alternate interior angles in this picture are angles 4 and 6. Alternate exterior angles. The alternate means the same thing. It still means opposite sides of the transversal. Let me highlight this transversal again. Here's our transversal. It intersects 2 or more lines in 2 places. There's our transversal. Alternate exterior angles. They're in the exterior region, and they're on opposite sides of the green line. So one pair is 2 and 8. And what's the other pair? 1 and 7. And the last pair or the last type of angles in this diagram, called corresponding angles. And we're going to say that they hold the same position. They hold the same position. They hold the same position in their respective group of angles. We talked about it a few minutes ago, that when two lines are cut by a transversal, that there's 8 angles created. Well, this is one group of angles. When two lines intersect, there's 4 angles created. Well, when the transversal intersects the other line, it creates the other group of 4 angles. Now, corresponding angles hold the same position in their respective groups. So angle 1 corresponds to angle 5. They're both in the upper left position of their group of angles. So what angle corresponds to 4? 4 and 8, very good. And then we've got angle 2. And what corresponds to 2? 6. And then we've got angle 3, and it corresponds to 7. All right, so that's the intro into chapter 3, where we're dealing with these groups or pairs of angles that have names. The next progression that we'll start on Monday is we'll talk about all the rules that apply to these different pairs of angles, because they all have specific rules. Okay? Doesn't that sound exciting? All right. So now is when I was just going to give you the day off today, but a couple of you, emailed me and said that you just wanted to make sure that we had plenty of practice problems today. So we'll go ahead and do that. Some days we will take off in here and I won't give you any practice problems. All right. Those are usually on Saturdays and Sundays. Maybe during spring break, you won't have any practice problems, but usually we do practice problems. Is that okay with everybody? Very good. Very good. All right. So here we go. What you're going to do today on a separate sheet of paper, page 31 and 32. All of the problems. All right, if you're a brick and mortar student, they are going in the basket. When the bell rings. If you're an e-learner, you are emailing me a picture of your work on that clean sheet of paper at the end of the period. All right, so pages 31 and 32, all the problems on a clean piece of paper. If you're in class, you're putting them in the basket. When the bell rings, if you're an e-learner, you're going to email me a picture of your work at the end of the period. Now, again, I will not be here tomorrow. So your substitute will hand out a study guide, and you will work on that study guide in class. There's no Zoom meeting tomorrow. No Zoom tomorrow. I will not be here. No Zoom on 2/4/21. We will resume. We will resume Zoom on Friday. We'll do that little questions before the quiz thing that we do on Fridays. If you don't have any questions, you're excused from the meeting to work on your assignment. And I look forward to seeing a picture of your very neat work that you're going to send me at the end of the class period, or if you get finished before then, you can send it at that time. The study guide has been uploaded to Focus for you e-learners, so you can complete that tomorrow as well.